When tutor Camilla steps into the grieving Langston household, she only hopes to help a silent child. But in healing young Matteo, she stirs something long buried in his father Gabriel and in herself. Can love bridge the distance between two? Very different worlds. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the small apartment above Uncle Miguel's bakery. Camila Herrera rushed around, gathering her teaching materials, while the smell of fresh bread wafted up from below. At 25, she juggled her part-time tutoring job with finishing her degree in childhood development. It wasn't easy, but Camila wasn't afraid of hard work. "Mija, don't forget to eat something," her mother Rosa called from their tiny kitchen. Camila grabbed a piece of toast. "No time, Mama. I've got a new student today, all the way up in the hills." Rosa wiped her hands on her apron. "Those rich people better appreciate you. You have a gift with children." "It's just another job," Camilla said, though they both knew it wasn't. Every child she taught mattered to her. The bus ride took nearly an hour. Camilla used the time to review her notes about her new student, Matteo Langston, age 7, struggling in school since his mother's death 6 months ago. The agency had warned her that he barely spoke anymore. When the bus dropped her off, Camilla had to walk another 15 minutes uphill. The houses got bigger and the gates taller with each block. Finally, she reached the address, an imposing modern mansion with glass walls and a security gate. She pressed the intercom button, suddenly feeling out of place in her simple dress and worn backpack. "Herrera for Matteo," she said, trying to sound confident. The gate opened with a mechanical hum, and Camilla walked up the long driveway. Before she could ring the doorbell, the massive front door swung open. A stern-looking woman in a crisp uniform stood there. "I'm Mrs. Peterson, the housekeeper." "The nanny is with Matteo in the study," she said, barely looking at Camilla. "Follow me." Camilla trailed behind her through a house that felt more like a museum than a home. Everything was sleek, expensive, and immaculate, but cold somehow, as if no one really lived there. The study was different, though. It was clearly a child's space with books and toys, though they looked barely touched. A small boy sat at a desk, his head bent over a piece of paper. A middle-aged woman stood nearby, checking her watch. "The tutor is here," Mrs. Peterson announced. "I'll be in the kitchen if you need anything." The nanny looked relieved. "Thank goodness, I have errands to run. Matteo hasn't been very cooperative today." She gathered her purse. "Good luck with him. He doesn't talk much." Before Camilla could ask any questions, both women left, closing the door behind them. Alone with the boy, Camilla took a deep breath and approached slowly. "Hi, Matteo. I'm Camilla. I'm going to be your new tutor." Matteo didn't look up. He just kept drawing, his crayon moving in frantic, angry strokes. Instead of pushing, Camilla sat down beside him and looked at his drawing. It showed a woman with no face, surrounded by scribbles of black. The sight made her heart ache. "That's interesting," she said softly. "Who are you drawing?" Matteo shrugged but didn't speak. Camilla noticed other drawings scattered around, all similar. The same faceless woman, the same dark scribbles. She understood immediately what or who he was trying to capture. "You know," she said, pulling out a fresh piece of paper, "when I try to draw something important, I get frustrated too. It never looks the way I see it in my head." She knelt beside him and held out a blue crayon. "You don't have to get it perfect. Just draw how it feels." Matteo looked up for the first time, his dark eyes meeting hers with surprise. Slowly he took the crayon. "Can I draw with you?" she asked. He nodded slightly, and Camilla felt a small victory. For the next hour, they just drew together. Camilla didn't push academics. Instead, she let him get comfortable with her presence. By the end of the session, he had drawn a blue sky above the faceless woman. "That's beautiful," Camilla said. "The blue makes me feel peaceful. Does it make you feel peaceful too?" Matteo nodded again, and this time there was the faintest hint of a smile. "Tomorrow maybe we can read a story and do some math," Camilla suggested as she packed up her things, "but only if you feel like it." As she was about to leave, the study door opened. A tall man stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. He wore an expensive suit that seemed at odds with his tired eyes. Mr. Langston, Camilla said, recognizing him from the photos she'd seen online. Gabriel Langston was a well-known venture capitalist, a self-made success story. I'm Camila Herrera, Mateo's new tutor, he nodded curtly. How did it go? Before Camilla could answer, Mateo held up his drawing to his father. Gabriel's face softened as he looked at it. You used blue, he said quietly, as if this were significant. Camilla slipped past them. See you tomorrow, Mateo. As she walked to the bus stop, Camilla couldn't stop thinking about the boy and his father. There was so much sadness in that beautiful house, but also something else, something that felt like possibility. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Each day, Camilla arrived at the Langston house, and slowly, Mateo began to open up. First, with drawings, then with whispered answers, and finally with complete sentences. She made learning into games, brought books about brave children, and always made time for drawing. And every day, just before she left, Gabriel would appear in the doorway. He never said much, just asked about Mateo's progress. But Camilla noticed how he watched them together, with a mixture of gratitude and something that looked almost like longing. One afternoon, about a month into their sessions, Camilla brought a children's book about a boy who planted a garden in memory of his grandmother. My mom had a garden, Mateo said suddenly while they were reading. It was the first time he'd mentioned his mother. Camilla kept her voice steady, though her heart was racing. What did she grow in her garden? Flowers, yellow ones. They were her favorite. Mateo touched the page. Like these. That's wonderful. Yellow is such a happy color, Camilla said gently. I don't remember her face sometimes, Mateo confessed, his voice dropping to a whisper. That's why I can't draw it. Camilla put her arm around his small shoulders. That happens, you know. But you remember how she made you feel, and that's the most important part. Mateo leaned against her. She made me feel safe. That's a beautiful memory to keep, Camilla said, blinking back tears. Neither of them had noticed Gabriel standing in the doorway, listening. When Camilla looked up, their eyes met, and she saw his were wet too. That evening, as Camilla was leaving, Gabriel followed her to the front door. What did you do to him? He asked abruptly. Camilla paused, confused by the question. I'm sorry, Mateo. He's different with you. He talks. He even laughed yesterday. Gabriel ran a hand through his dark hair. The other tutors, they just tried to force him to do worksheets. They said he was stubborn. Camilla chose her words carefully. I don't think he's stubborn. I think he's grieving. And sometimes you can't learn anything new when your heart is too full of pain. So what did you do differently? I just made space for him, Camilla said simply. Space to feel whatever he needs to feel. Gabriel stared at her for a long moment. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone like the others, someone polished, professional. Camilla felt a flash of insecurity about her simple clothes and direct manner. I am professional, Mr. Langston. I just have a different approach. I didn't mean it as criticism, he said quickly. Whatever you're doing, it's working. He hasn't had a nightmare in weeks. The sincerity in his voice touched her. That's wonderful to hear. Would you consider adding an extra session on Fridays? Gabriel asked. I know you probably have other students. I can do Fridays, Camilla interrupted. She told herself it was for Mateo's sake, but something about Gabriel's vulnerable expression made her heart beat faster. The next day, Camilla brought colored clay to their session. Let's make something for your dad, she suggested to Mateo. What do you think he'd like? Mateo thought for a moment. He likes coffee. He drinks it all the time. Then let's make him a special cup, Camilla said. They spent the hour shaping and decorating a clay cup. Mateo worked with intense concentration, adding little designs that he said would make Daddy smile. When Gabriel appeared at the end of the session, Mateo proudly presented his creation. It's not finished yet, he explained. It has to dry. But it's a coffee cup for you because you're always tired. Gabriel knelt down to his son's level. It's perfect. I'll use it every day. Camilla helped me, Mateo said, grabbing her hand. Gabriel looked up at her, and Camilla felt something shift between them, a recognition, a connection that went beyond their roles as employer and employee. Thank you, he said softly, and Camilla knew he wasn't just talking about the cup. The weeks passed. Gabriel began to linger during Matteo's lessons. At first, he just watched from the doorway. Then he started sitting in the corner of the room, pretending to work on his laptop, but clearly paying attention to their interactions. One Friday afternoon, when they were working on a science project about plants, Gabriel actually joined them at the table. "Can I help?" he asked almost shyly. Matteo's face lit up. "You can help me cut out the pictures of the trees, Daddy." Camilla watched as father and son worked together, heads bent over the project. She noticed how Gabriel's hands, strong and capable, moved with such gentleness when helping Matteo, how his serious face transformed when he smiled at his son. "Your dad is pretty good at this," Camilla whispered to Matteo. "He's good at everything," Matteo said proudly. "Except cooking, he burns the toast." Gabriel laughed, a real laugh that made the corners of his eyes crinkle. "I'm trying to learn, buddy. Remember, I made pancakes that weren't totally black last weekend." They were still pretty bad, Matteo giggled. Camilla couldn't help joining in their laughter. It felt good, natural, like they were just a normal family enjoying an afternoon together. Except they weren't a family, Camilla reminded herself. She was just the tutor, here to do a job. She couldn't afford to forget that, no matter how much she was starting to care for both Matteo and his father. After the session, Gabriel followed her to the door as usual. But this time, he hesitated. "Camilla, I was wondering—" He stopped, seeming uncharacteristically nervous. "Matteo has been asking about going to the Natural History Museum. There's a dinosaur exhibit he saw on TV. Would you want to come with us tomorrow? As Matteo's tutor," he added quickly. "It could be educational." Camilla knew she should say no. It wasn't professional to spend time with students outside of lessons, but the hopeful look in Matteo's eyes as he peeked around his father's legs made it impossible to refuse. "I'd love to," she said. "For educational purposes, of course." The museum trip changed everything. Away from the formal setting of the Langston home, they relaxed together. Matteo ran from exhibit to exhibit, his face alight with wonder. Gabriel, dressed in jeans and a casual shirt instead of his usual suit, looked younger and less burdened, and Camilla, watching them together, felt herself falling for both of them, for Matteo's brave little heart and for Gabriel's quiet strength. At the dinosaur exhibit, Matteo pressed his face against the glass. "Mom would have loved this," he said suddenly. She liked the big dinosaurs. Instead of the awkward silence that usually followed any mention of Matteo's mother, Gabriel placed a hand on his son's shoulder. She really would have. "Remember how—" "She roared like a T-Rex to scare away the monsters under your bed?" Matteo nodded, giggling at the memory. "She was louder than the real dinosaurs." Gabriel caught Camilla's eye over Matteo's head and mouthed, "Thank you." She knew he wasn't just thanking her for the museum trip, but for helping them both find a way to remember without so much pain. Later, as Matteo explored the gift shop with the museum guide, Gabriel and Camilla sat on a bench. "How do you know what to say to him?" Gabriel asked. "About his mother, about his feelings. I always freeze up." Camilla thought about it. "I don't always know. I just try to listen more than I talk." "It seems to come so naturally to you," Gabriel said. "I feel like I'm failing him sometimes. I can run a company, but I don't know how to help my own son." "You're not failing him," Camilla said firmly. "You're here. You're trying. That matters. More than you know." Gabriel looked at her, really looked at her, as if seeing her clearly for the first time. "You're remarkable, Camilla Herrera." The way he said her name made her cheeks warm. "I'm just doing my job." "No, you're doing much more than that." He seemed about to say something else when Matteo ran back to them, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. The moment passed, but something had changed between them. Camilla could feel it in the air, a possibility, a beginning. As they left the museum, Matteo reached for both their hands, connecting them. And for just a moment, walking in the sunshine, they felt like a family. The days following their museum trip took on a different rhythm. Camilla still came to tutor Matteo, but Gabriel was now a regular presence in their sessions. He would ask questions, not just about Matteo's progress, but about Camilla's teaching methods. "How do you make him want to learn?" Gabriel asked one afternoon. while Matteo was drawing a map of their neighborhood for his geography lesson. Children naturally want to learn, Camilla explained. They just need to feel safe enough to try, to make mistakes. Gabriel watched his son, who was humming softly as he worked. And how do you keep from being afraid of saying the wrong thing, of making things worse? Camilla thought about her own childhood, about her mother who worked double shifts at the hospital, but always made time to listen, about her grandmother who filled their small apartment with stories and laughter. I guess I learned from the women who raised me. They taught me that love isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. Gabriel's eyes stayed on her face longer than necessary. Your family sounds special. They are, Camilla agreed. Different from yours, I'm sure, but special in their own way. Different how? Gabriel seemed genuinely curious. Camilla gestured around the mansion. Well, we live above my uncle's bakery. The whole place is smaller than your kitchen. And instead of a housekeeper, we all pitch in. My grandmother still insists on doing all the cooking, though. It sounds, Gabriel searched for the right word, warm. It is, Camilla said, suddenly missing home. Loud and crowded and warm. I grew up in a place like this, Gabriel admitted quietly. Big, quiet, everything perfect on the surface. My father was never around, always working. My mother was distant. I swore I'd do better with my own family. His face darkened. But here I am repeating the pattern. You're not, Camilla insisted. You're trying, that counts for so much. Before Gabriel could respond, Matteo called them over to see his finished map. Look, I drew our house, and the museum we went to, and Camilla's bus stop, and even the bakery, where her family lives. Camilla and Gabriel exchanged surprised glances. She had mentioned the bakery only once, weeks ago. That's wonderful, Matteo, Gabriel said, his voice thick with emotion. You included all the important places. That evening, instead of just saying goodbye at the door, Gabriel invited Camilla to stay for dinner. Nothing fancy, he assured her. Mrs. Peterson left something in the oven, and Matteo would love it if you stayed. Camilla hesitated. I don't want to intrude on your family time. Please stay, Matteo begged, tugging at her hand. Daddy never burns the food when you're here. Gabriel laughed. That's because I'm not cooking tonight. But he's right about one thing. Everything is better when you're here. Camilla felt herself blushing. Okay, let me just call my mum so she won't worry. Dinner was simple but delicious. A casserole that Mrs. Peterson had prepared with a salad that Gabriel managed to assemble without incident. They ate in the kitchen instead of the formal dining room, and Matteo chatted happily about dinosaurs and his friends at school. Watching father and son together, Camilla couldn't help but notice how much they had both changed in the weeks she'd known them. Matteo was animated and talkative, while Gabriel seemed lighter somehow, less burdened. After dinner, Matteo insisted on showing Camilla his bedroom. It was a large room filled with toys, but what caught her attention were the drawings taped to the wall, dozens of them in bright colors, showing happy scenes of people playing, animals and sunshine. You've been busy, Camilla said, touched that he'd continued drawing outside their sessions. These are my happy pictures, Matteo explained, for when I feel sad. Gabriel stood in the doorway, watching them. It was his idea, he said quietly. He calls it his happy wall. Later, after Matteo had gone to bed, Gabriel poured 2 glasses of wine and led Camilla to the patio overlooking the city lights. Thank you for staying, he said, handing her a glass. Dinner is usually a lot quieter. Thank you. You for inviting me. You have a beautiful home. Gabriel looked out at the view. It never felt like home until recently. Eleanor, my wife, she was the one who made it feel alive. After she died, it just became a place to sleep between workdays. It was the first time he'd spoken directly about his wife to Camilla. What was she like? Camilla asked gently. A soft smile touched Gabriel's lips. Vibrant, passionate. She was an artist, a real one, not a hobbyist. She painted these massive, colorful canvases that made you feel everything. He took a sip of wine. She was Matteo's opposite in many ways, loud where he's quiet, bold where he's cautious. But they adored each other. She sounds amazing. She was. Gabriel turned to look directly at Camilla. But she's been gone for almost a year now, and today I realized something. This house, it feels like a home again. And that's because of you. Camilla's heart raced. Gabriel, I'm not expecting anything, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know that you've helped us both, not just Matteo. The moment hung between them, full of unspoken feelings. Camilla knew she should maintain professional boundaries, but sitting there with him in the gentle evening light, those boundaries felt increasingly difficult to remember. Tell me about your dreams, Gabriel said suddenly. Beyond tutoring, what do you want to do with your life? Camilla was surprised by the question. I'm finishing my degree in childhood development. I want to teach, to help children who need extra support. Maybe start a program for kids who can't afford private tutors. That's a worthy goal, Gabriel said. You'd be amazing at it. It's just a dream right now. Tuition isn't cheap, and even with scholarships. Camilla trailed off, not wanting to sound like she was asking for help. Dreams matter, Gabriel said seriously. They shape who we become. They talked late into the night, sharing stories from their vastly different childhoods. Gabriel's privileged but lonely upbringing, Camilla's modest but love-filled home. Despite their differences, they found unexpected common ground. Both were driven by a desire to create something meaningful, to leave the world better than they found it. When Camilla finally checked her watch, she gasped. It's past midnight. I missed the last bus. I'll drive you, Gabriel offered immediately. It's a long way, Camilla protested. I can call a rideshare. I insist, Gabriel said, already reaching for his keys. It's the least I can do after keeping you so late. The drive to Camilla's neighborhood took nearly 40 minutes. They rode in comfortable silence, the radio playing softly in the background. When they arrived at the bakery, the lights were still on downstairs. That's my uncle, Camilla explained. He starts baking at midnight for the morning rush. Gabriel looked at the small, warm bakery with its faded sign. I'd like to bring Matteo here sometime, if that wouldn't be too strange. He'd love it. My uncle. Let's kids help shape the bread. Gabriel turned to her, his face half illuminated by the streetlight. Camilla, The bakery door opened, and Uncle Miguel stepped out, wiping his hands on his apron. Camilla, is that you? Your mother's been worried. Camilla quickly said goodbye to Gabriel and hurried into the bakery, feeling like a teenager caught after curfew. But as she watched his car drive away, she couldn't deny the feelings growing in her heart. The next day was Saturday, and Camilla didn't have a session scheduled with Matteo. She spent the morning helping at the bakery, trying not to think about Gabriel and the almost moment they'd shared. Around noon, the bakery bell chimed, and Camilla looked up to see Gabriel and Matteo standing there, looking slightly out of place among the regular customers. Surprise, Matteo called, running to give her a hug. Daddy said we could come see where you live. Camilla hugged him back, glancing at Gabriel. He shrugged apologetically. He was very insistent. I hope it's okay. Of course it is, Camilla said, though her heart was pounding. Let me introduce you to my family. Uncle Miguel emerged from the kitchen, flour dusting his mustache. So these are your special students, he said in Spanish, giving Camilla a knowing look. This is Matteo and his father, Gabriel Langston. Camilla introduced them, switching to English. This is my Uncle Miguel, the best baker in Los Angeles. Uncle Miguel shook Gabriel's hand firmly. Any friend of Camilla's is welcome here. Come, try some pan dulce, on the house. Gabriel started to protest, but Uncle Miguel was already filling a bag with bread and pastries. Can I see how you make the bread? Matteo asked eagerly. Uncle Miguel beamed. Of course, Niño. Come to the kitchen. You too, he added, nodding at Gabriel. Camilla watched as her uncle led them to the back, showing them the large mixers and ovens. Matteo was fascinated, asking questions and touching the dough. Gabriel looked around with genuine interest, not a hint of judgment in his expression. He likes you, her grandmother's voice came from behind her. Abuela had come down from the apartment upstairs, her eyes sharp despite her 80 years. He's my employer, Camilla stammered. Abuela clicked her tongue. I may be old, but I'm not blind. The way he looks at you, she patted Camilla's cheek. Just be careful with your heart, mi niña, and with the boy's heart too. Before Camilla could respond, Gabriel and Matteo returned, Matteo proudly carrying a small loaf of bread he had helped shape. "Look what I made," he exclaimed. "Uncle Miguel said I'm a natural." "That's wonderful, buddy," Gabriel said, ruffling his son's hair. He turned to Camilla. "Your uncle is amazing, and this place, it's exactly as warm as you described. Would you like to come upstairs, meet my mom and grandmother?" The invitation slipped out before Camilla could think better of it. Gabriel looked surprised but pleased. "We'd love to, right, Matteo?" The small apartment above the bakery was a stark contrast to the Langston mansion. Every surface held family photos or knickknacks, and the furniture was well worn but clean. The smell of her grandmother's cooking filled the air. Camilla was suddenly self-conscious about the cramped space, the faded curtains, the mismatched dishes. But Gabrielle seemed at ease, complimenting her mother on their home and listening intently as Abuela told stories about Camila as a child. "She was always teaching," Rosa said proudly. "Even at 5 years old, she would line up her stuffed animals and read to them." "That doesn't surprise me at all," Gabriel said, smiling at Camila. After a lunch that Abuela insisted they stay for, Matteo fell asleep on the small living room couch, tired from his baking adventure. "I feel safe here," Gabriel observed softly, covering his son with a blanket. "He doesn't fall asleep just anywhere." "Children know when they're surrounded by love," Rosa said, exchanging a meaningful glance with her mother. When it was time to leave, Matteo hugged everyone goodbye as if they were already family. Gabriel thanked them warmly for their hospitality. "You've raised an extraordinary daughter," he told Rosa and Abuela. "She's changing our lives." On the sidewalk outside the bakery, Gabriel hesitated. "Thank you for today, for sharing your family with us. They're a bit much sometimes," Camilla said, still embarrassed by Abuela's not-so-subtle hints about Gabriel being a good catch. "They're perfect," Gabriel said. "And now I understand where you get your gift for making people feel at home." He leaned down and kissed her cheek, a brief, gentle touch that was over before Camilla could react. "See you Monday," he said, before helping a sleepy Matteo into the car. Camilla stood on the sidewalk long after they'd driven away, her cheek tingling where his lips had touched. Monday's tutoring session felt different. There was a new awareness. Between Camilla and Gabriel, a current of unspoken feelings that made every glance, every accidental touch seem significant. Matteo, however, was blissfully unaware of the tension. He had made tremendous progress in his reading and was eager to show off his new skills. "Can I read to Daddy today?" he asked Camilla. "That's a great idea," she agreed. "Let's pick a special book." Matteo chose a story about a father and son who built a treehouse together. He read slowly but clearly, only stumbling on a few words. When he finished, Gabriel had tears in his eyes. "That was perfect, buddy," he said, hugging Matteo tightly. "I'm so proud of you." "Camilla helped me practice," Matteo said. "She says I'm getting better every day." "She's right." Gabriel looked at Camilla over his son's head. "You are." After the lesson, while Matteo was washing his hands for dinner, Gabriel asked Camilla to stay again. "I need to talk to you about something," he said, his expression serious. "Is everything okay?" Camilla asked, suddenly worried. "Yes, it's just—" He ran a hand through his hair. "Matteo's school called today. They're amazed at his improvement. His teacher wants to know what changed." "That's wonderful news," Camilla said, relieved. "It is, but it made me realize—" Gabriel took a deep breath. "What if I'm the one who needs the lessons now?" Camilla looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Gabriel stepped closer. "I mean, you've taught Matteo how to express himself, how to feel safe in his grief. But I'm still stuck, afraid to move forward, afraid to trust happiness again." His vulnerability touched her deeply. "Gabriel, grief doesn't have a timeline. You can't force it. But it's been nearly a year, and until you came into our lives, I was just going through the motions. Work, home, sleep, repeat." He took her hand. "You've woken something in me, Camilla. Something I thought died with Elena." Camilla's heart raced, but she forced herself to speak carefully. "I'm glad you're feeling more alive, but Gabriel, I'm Matteo's tutor." "There are boundaries, I know," he interrupted, "and I've respected them. But I can't ignore what's happening between us, can you?" Camilla thought about the way she looked forward to seeing him each day, how her thoughts drifted to him when they were apart. No, she admitted softly. I can't. So what do we do? Camilla squeezed his hand. We take it slow, for Matteo's sake, and for yours. Gabriel nodded. Slow, he agreed. But together, Camilla whispered. He pulled her into a gentle embrace, and Camilla rested her head against his chest, hearing the steady beat of his heart. It felt right being in his arms, like finding a place she hadn't known she was looking for. Daddy, I'm hungry, Matteo called from the kitchen, breaking the moment. They stepped apart, both smiling. Coming, buddy, Gabriel called back. Then to Camilla, stay for dinner? I'd love to. That night began a new chapter in their relationship. Gabriel and Camilla were careful to keep things professional during Matteo's tutoring sessions, but evenings often stretched into dinners together, and weekends found them exploring the city as a trio, museums, parks, even a day at the beach. Matteo flourished with the attention of two adults who cared deeply for him. His nightmares became rare, his schoolwork improved dramatically, and he spoke more often about his mother with a mixture of sadness and fond remembrance. Mom would have liked you, he told Camilla one evening as she tucked him into bed. She always said people should be colorful inside. What a beautiful way to think about it, Camilla said, touched by his words. Are you and Daddy going to get married? Matteo asked suddenly. Camilla nearly dropped the book she was holding. What? No, sweetheart. We're just friends. Matteo gave her a skeptical look. Daddy looks at you the way he used to look at Mom. All mushy. Well, Camilla said carefully, your dad and I care about each other, but marriage is a very big step that grown-ups only take after knowing each other for a long time. But you make him happy, Matteo insisted. And me too. You both make me happy too, Camilla admitted. Now time for sleep. She kissed his forehead and turned off the light, her mind spinning with his innocent observation. Downstairs, Gabriel was waiting in the living room, 2 glasses of wine on the coffee table. He's asleep, he asked as Camilla joined him on the couch, almost. He asked if we were getting married. Gabriel nearly choked on his wine. He what? Camilla couldn't help laughing at his expression. He said you look at me all mushy, like you used to look at Eleanor. Gabriel's face softened. Kids notice everything, don't they? They really do. He took her hand, tracing circles on her palm with his thumb. And what did you tell him? That we care about each other, but marriage is a big step that takes time. Wise answer, Gabriel murmured. He looked into her eyes. But he's right about one thing. You do make us happy, Camilla. Happier than I thought possible again. You make me happy too, she admitted. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. But Camilla met him halfway, and their lips came together in a sweet, gentle kiss that held the promise of more to come. When they parted, Gabriel rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling in love with you, he whispered, and it terrifies me. Why? Camilla asked softly. Because I've lost someone I loved before. The pain nearly destroyed me. His voice cracked, the thought of risking that again. Camilla placed her hand on his cheek. Grief doesn't mean your love stopped, she said gently. It means it hasn't. Landed somewhere new yet. Gabriel's eyes filled with tears. How do you always know exactly what to say? I don't, Camilla admitted. I'm just as scared as you are. This is all new territory for me too. He kissed her again, more deeply this time, pulling her close as if she might disappear if he let go. Camilla melted into his embrace, feeling both vulnerable and safe at the same time. Later, as they said goodnight at the door, Camilla still insisted on going home each night. Gabriel held her hands in his. Will you come to Matteo's school play on Friday? He's a tree, but he has 2 lines. Camilla smiled. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Friday evening found them sitting side by side in the elementary school auditorium, watching Matteo proudly deliver his lines in the environmental play. When he spotted them in the audience, he waved excitedly, nearly knocking over another child with his tree branches. Gabriel reached for Camilla's hand, entwining their fingers. To anyone watching, they looked like any other proud parents. After the performance, As they were congratulating Mateo, his teacher approached them. "Mr. Langston, Ms. Herrera, could I speak with you for a moment?" Mrs. Jenkins asked. "It's about Mateo's remarkable improvement." While Mateo joined his classmates for cookies and juice, they spoke with the teacher. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up," Mrs. Jenkins said enthusiastically. "Mateo is like a different child, engaged, participating, even making new friends. His last test scores were the highest in the class." "It's all thanks to Ms. Herrera," Gabriel said proudly. "She's been tutoring him." Mrs. Jenkins looked impressed. "Well, you clearly have a gift for teaching. Have you ever considered a position at a school like ours? We're always looking for talented educators." Camilla blinked in surprise. "I'm still finishing my degree, actually. With your experience, you'd be perfect for our Teacher's Aid program. It includes tuition assistance for education majors." Mrs. Jenkins handed her a business card. "Think about it. We'd be lucky to have you." As they walked to the car, Gabriel noticed Camilla's thoughtful expression. "That was quite an offer," he said. "You'd be amazing in a classroom setting." "It would be a great opportunity," Camilla agreed. But what?" Camilla hesitated. "It would change things between us. I wouldn't be Mateo's tutor anymore." Gabriel stopped walking and turned to face her. "Is that all you think you are to us, Mateo's tutor?" "No, but it's how this all started." Gabriel took her hands. "Camilla, you're so much more than that to both of us now. You know that, right?" Before she could respond, Mateo bounded up to them. "Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" "Of course we can, Tree Star." Gabriel laughed, using the nickname Mateo had proudly given himself. As they sat in the ice cream shop, watching Mateo create a massive sundae at the toppings bar, Gabriel looked at Camilla. "You should take the job if you want it," he said. "Don't let us hold you back." "You wouldn't be holding me back," Camilla insisted. "You and Mateo, you're becoming my priority." Gabriel's expression grew serious. "That's what worries me. You have dreams, Camilla, big ones. I never want to be the reason you don't pursue them." Camilla was about to respond when her phone rang. It was her mother, her voice strained with worry. "Abuela's in the hospital," Rosa said without preamble. "She fell in the kitchen. The doctors think it might be her heart." "I'm coming right now," Camilla said, her own heart racing with fear. She hung up and looked at Gabriel. "I have to go. My grandmother's in the hospital." "I'll drive you," Gabriel said immediately, already signaling for the check. 20 minutes later, they were rushing into the emergency room, Mateo holding tightly to Gabriel's hand. Camilla found her mother in the waiting area, her eyes red from crying. "How is she?" Camilla asked, hugging Rosa tight. "They're running tests. We don't know anything yet." Rosa looked over Camilla's shoulder at Gabriel and Mateo. "You brought them?" "They drove me," Camilla explained. "Mom, this is Gabriel and Mateo." Rosa managed a tired smile. "Thank you for bringing her. It's the least we could do," Gabriel said, warmly. "Is there anything you need? Food? Coffee?" Rosa looked surprised by the offer. "Coffee would be wonderful, actually." "We'll find some," Gabriel promised. "Come on, Mateo. Let's go on a mission." As they walked away, Rosa raised an eyebrow at Camilla. "He's different than I expected." "What do you mean?" "More human. When you first mentioned the rich businessman in the big house, I imagined someone cold." "He was at first," Camilla admitted. "But there's so much more to him than that." Rosa studied her daughter's face. "You're in love with him." It wasn't a question, but Camilla nodded anyway. "I think I am, Mama." Rosa sighed. "Oh, mi hija, just be careful. Men like that, they live in a different world." "Not Gabriel," Camilla insisted. "He's not like that." Before they could continue the conversation, a doctor approached them. "Family of Maria Herrera?" They both stood up. "How is she?" Rosa asked anxiously. "Stable," the doctor reassured them. "It wasn't a heart attack as we initially feared. It was a rhythm disturbance caused by her medication. We're adjusting the dosage, and she should be able to go home tomorrow." Camilla felt weak with relief. "Can we see her?" "Of course, she's asking for you both." They found Abuela looking small in the hospital bed, but alert and already complaining about the food. She brightened when she saw Camilla. "There you are, mi niña. Don't look so worried. It takes more than a little fall to keep me down." "You scared us, Abuela," Camilla said, kissing her weathered cheek. Nonsense. Now, where is this handsome man of yours? I want to see him again. Camilla blushed. Gabriel and Matteo brought me here. They're getting coffee. As if on cue, there was a light knock on the door, and Gabriel peered in, a tray of coffee cups in his hands. Matteo peeked around him, holding a small stuffed bear from the gift shop. Is it okay if we come in? Gabriel asked hesitantly. Of course. Come in, Abuela said, waving them forward with surprising energy for someone who had just been through a medical scare. Matteo approached the bed and held out the bear. This is for you, he said shyly. When I'm sick, my teddy makes me feel better. Abuela's eyes filled with tears as she accepted the gift. Gracias, pequeño. He's perfect. Gabriel handed out the coffee cups and then stood awkwardly at the foot of the bed. We don't want to intrude on family time. Nonsense, Abuela said firmly. Anyone who brings my granddaughter safely to me and gives me such a thoughtful gift is welcome. She fixed Gabriel with a penetrating stare. You take care of our Camila, yes? Gabriel met her gaze steadily. I try to, Senora, though usually she's the one taking care of us. Abuela nodded approvingly. Good answer. They stayed until visiting hours ended, Gabriel charming the nurses into bringing extra chairs and food for everyone. He shared stories that made Abuela laugh, and he listened with genuine interest to her tales of the old country. When it was time to leave, Gabriel insisted on driving Camilla and Rosa home. You're both too tired to take the bus, he said, and Matteo's already falling asleep. In the car with Matteo and Rosa both dozing in the back seat, Gabriel reached for Camilla's hand. Thank you, she said softly, for everything tonight. That's what... He hesitated, then continued. That's what people who care about each other do. He had almost said family, Camilla realized, and for the first time, she let herself imagine a future where they were exactly that, a family bound not by blood but by choice and love. When they reached the bakery, Gabriel helped a sleepy Rosa inside, while Camilla waited with Matteo in the car. Is your abuela going to be okay? Matteo asked drowsily. Yes, sweetheart, she's tough like you. Matteo nodded, satisfied. That's good, because you need your family. He yawned. And we need you too. Camilla felt her heart expand with love for this sleepy boy, who had found his way past all her professional barriers. I need you too, she whispered, brushing his hair back from his forehead. Gabriel returned a few minutes later. Your mom's settled. And I called the bakery manager. He'll handle opening tomorrow so your uncle can stay with your grandmother when she comes home. You thought of everything, Camilla said, touched by his thoughtfulness. Not everything, Gabriel admitted. I still don't know how to tell you what you mean to me. To us. In the quiet car with the city lights twinkling around them and Matteo sleeping peacefully in the back seat, Camilla leaned over and kissed Gabriel softly. You don't have to tell me, she whispered against his lips. You show me every day. The weeks following Abuela's hospital scare settled into a new rhythm. Camilla continued tutoring Matteo, while also considering Mrs. Jenkins's job offer at his school. Gabriel made a point of being home more often, rearranging his work schedule to spend time with both Matteo and Camilla. And on weekends, they would visit the bakery, where Abuela, now fully recovered, delighted in teaching Matteo to make traditional Mexican pastries. Your boy has the touch, Abuela told Gabriel one Sunday afternoon as they watched Matteo carefully shape dough into little animals. Just like my Camilla at his age. Gabriel smiled, watching Camilla help Matteo add details to his creations. He's blooming with her, he said softly. We both are. Abuela patted his arm. Good. Life is for living, mijito, not for hiding in the past. Upstairs in the apartment, Rosa was more cautious. Things are moving quickly between you two, she told Camilla while they washed dishes after lunch. I know, Mama, Camilla admitted, but it feels right. Rosa handed her a plate to dry. And what about your studies? Your dreams of teaching? I'm still finishing my degree, Camilla assured her. And Mrs. Jenkins' offer at Matteo's school could be perfect, teaching experience plus tuition assistance. And being close to them every day, Rosa observed shrewdly. Camilla couldn't deny it. Is that so wrong? Rosa sighed. No, mija. Not wrong. Just remember who you are, where you come from. Don't lose yourself in their world. I won't, Camilla promised, though she wondered if it was already too late. Gabriel and Matteo had become so much a part of her life, her heart, that sometimes she couldn't imagine a future without them. The next morning, Camilla arrived at the Langston house for Matteo's tutoring session to find an unfamiliar car in the driveway. Inside, she heard voices from the living room, Gabriel's and a woman's. Mrs. Peterson met her at the door with an unusually sympathetic look. "Mr. Langston is in the living room. Matteo is waiting for you in the study." Camilla headed toward the key study, but as she passed the living room, Gabriel called out to her, "Camilla, could you join us for a moment?" She stepped into the room and saw a striking woman in an expensive suit sitting on the couch. Something about her perfectly styled blonde hair and cold blue eyes seemed vaguely familiar. "Camilla, this is Victoria Langston," Gabriel said, his voice formal. "My sister-in-law, Elena's sister." Victoria's gaze swept over Camilla, taking in her simple dress and worn backpack. Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So you're the miracle worker Gabriel's been talking about," she said coolly. "The tutor who's become so much more." Camilla felt her cheeks warm. "It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Langston." "Ms.," Victoria corrected. "I never married. Too focused." "On my career," Elena always said. She turned to Gabriel. "Speaking of which, I'd like to continue our discussion privately." Gabriel looked uncomfortable. "Anything you want to say, you can say in front of Camilla." Victoria raised a perfectly shaped eyebrow. "Really? Even about the foundation board's concerns?" "What concerns?" Camilla asked, confused. Gabriel sighed. "After Elena died, we established a foundation in her name. Victoria is on the board. They fund arts programs for underprivileged children. And we're planning our annual gala," Victoria added. "It's our biggest fundraiser. The board members are concerned about Gabriel's recent distraction." Camilla felt like she'd been slapped. "I should go. Matteo's waiting for me." "Camilla," Gabriel started, but she was already heading toward the E. Starty Matteo was at his desk, drawing. He looked up with a smile that faltered when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" he asked. Camilla forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just grown-up stuff. Let's focus on your science project today, okay?" They worked steadily through the lesson, but Camilla's thoughts kept drifting to Victoria's cold assessment and the implication that she was somehow a distraction for Gabriel. Was that how others saw her? As the hired help who had overstepped her bounds? An hour later, there was a knock at the study door and Gabriel entered alone. "Victoria's gone," he said, his voice tight. "I'm sorry about that." "It's fine," Camilla said, not meeting his eyes. "She's family. She's concerned about you." "She's concerned about appearances," Gabriel corrected. "Not about what makes me happy." Matteo looked between them, sensing the tension. "Is Aunt Victoria mad that Camilla is your girlfriend now?" Gabriel knelt beside his son. "Buddy, could you go ask Mrs. Peterson for a snack? I need to talk to Camilla for a minute." Matteo nodded solemnly and left the room. Once they were alone, Gabriel took Camilla's hands. "Victoria doesn't speak for me, or for Elena's memory. But she has a point," Camilla said quietly. "I am a distraction from your work, from the foundation. You're not a distraction. You're a gift," Gabriel insisted. "You've helped me find my way back to living, not just existing." "And the board? Your colleagues? What do they think about you dating your son's tutor?" Gabriel's jaw tightened. "I don't care what they think." "But you should," Camilla said. "Your work matters. The foundation matters. Your reputation—" "Stop," Gabriel interrupted. "This isn't about my reputation. It's about Victoria making you feel like you don't belong in my world, but she's wrong." Camilla pulled her hands away. "Is she?" "Gabriel, we come from completely different backgrounds. Your sister-in-law made that very clear in about 5 seconds. That doesn't matter to me," Gabriel insisted. "Maybe it should," Camilla said, voicing her deepest fear. "What if this is just gratitude because I helped Matteo?" Gabriel looked stunned. "Is that what you think? That I'm confusing gratitude with love?" "I don't know," Camilla admitted, "but I think we should take a step back, give ourselves space to be sure." "Camilla, please, Gabriel, I need to think." She gathered her teaching materials. I'll be back tomorrow for Mateo's lesson. We can talk more then." She left quickly, not trusting herself to stay strong if he tried to change her mind. Outside, she nearly ran into Victoria, who was sitting in her car looking at her phone. Victoria rolled down her window. "Ms. Herrera, could I have a word?" Everything in Camila wanted to keep walking, but her mother had raised her with better manners than that. She stopped beside the car. "I'll be brief," Victoria said. "My sister adored that boy in there, and she loved Gabriel, despite his humble beginnings." "Humble beginnings?" Camilla repeated, surprised. Victoria smiled thinly. "Oh, he didn't tell you. Gabriel Langston grew up in a trailer park in Arizona. His father was a mechanic who drank away most of his paychecks. Gabriel worked his way through college on scholarships and determination." Her eyes narrowed. Elena saw his potential and helped him become who he is today. She introduced him to the right people, taught him how to move in our circles. Camilla felt dizzy with this new information. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you should understand what you're up against." Gabriel remade himself to fit into Elena's world. Our world. And now he's the head of her foundation, her legacy. Victoria's perfectly manicured hand gripped the steering wheel. "I don't doubt that he cares for you, but caring isn't enough in the long run. Eventually, the differences catch up." "You don't know that," Camilla said, though doubt crept into her heart. "I know my sister spent years polishing Gabriel into someone who could stand beside her at galas and board meetings, someone who belonged." Victoria started her car. "Ask yourself if you're really ready for that life, and if he's ready to risk everything he's built for someone who isn't." She drove away, leaving Camilla standing on the sidewalk, shaken and confused. Gabriel had never mentioned his background, letting her assume he'd always lived a life of privilege. Why had he kept it from her? The bus ride home was a blur of conflicting emotions. By the time she reached the bakery, Camilla had convinced herself that Victoria was right. She and Gabriel were from different worlds now, regardless of where he'd started. She was distracting him from his work, from Elena's legacy, and maybe, worst of all, he was with her out of gratitude rather than love. Uncle Miguel found her crying in the storeroom. He sat beside her on a flour sack, his kind face concerned. "Tell me, Nina," he said gently. Through tears, Camilla explained. Everything. Victoria's visit, the revelation about Gabriel's past, her own doubts and fears. Uncle Miguel listened patiently. When she finished, he shook his head. "So this man hid that he came from people like us? That's not good." "Maybe he was embarrassed," Camilla suggested, though the thought hurt. "Or maybe," Uncle Miguel said wisely, "he doesn't think about it anymore. Some people, when they climb high, they forget the climb." "What should I do?" Uncle Miguel put his arm around her shoulders. "Ask him, not his sister-in-law. Him." The next day, Camilla's hands shook as she rang the doorbell at the Langston house. Mrs. Peterson answered, looking surprised. "Mr. Langston said you weren't coming today," she said. "He took Mateo to school himself." "There was a misunderstanding," Camilla explained. "Is he here now?" Mrs. Peterson hesitated. "He's in his study. He asked not to be disturbed." "Please," Camilla said. "It's important." The housekeeper relented and led Camilla to a part of the house she'd never seen before, Gabriel's private study. She knocked lightly on the heavy wooden door. "I said no interruptions," Gabriel's voice called, sounding tired. "It's Camilla," she replied. There was a moment of silence, then footsteps. The door opened to reveal Gabriel, his hair disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it, his eyes shadowed with fatigue. "Camilla," he said, looking surprised. "I thought you needed space." "I did. I do. But then I talked with your sister-in-law." Gabriel's expression darkened. "Victoria spoke to you when?" "Yesterday, after I left. She was waiting in her car." Camilla took a deep breath. "She told me about your background, about where you really came from." Gabriel closed his eyes briefly. "Come in," he said, stepping back from the door. His study was exactly as she would have imagined it. Bookshelves lining the walls, a large desk covered in papers, a leather sofa in one corner. But what caught her attention were the photographs. Mateo at various ages, Gabriel with a beautiful dark-haired woman who must have been Eleanor, and, surprisingly, several faded pictures of a much younger Gabriel with an older couple in front of a trailer. Gabriel followed her gaze. "My parents," he said quietly. "They died while I was in college. Car accident." "I'm sorry," Camilla said. She turned to face him. "Why didn't you tell me about where you came from?" Gabriel sank onto the sofa, suddenly looking exhausted. "I should have. It's not something I hide exactly. It just doesn't come up in my daily life anymore." "Victoria seemed to think it was important," Camilla said, sitting beside him. "Victoria believes in social hierarchies, in staying in your assigned place." Gabriel's voice was bitter. "She never thought I was good enough for her sister, no matter how successful I became. And Elena, did she feel that way too?" Gabriel smiled sadly. "Elena saw me when I was nobody, just a scholarship kid with big dreams and bad clothes. She loved me anyway, or maybe because of it." "She helped you fit into her world," Camilla said, repeating Victoria's words. Gabriel shook his head. "That's Victoria's version. The truth is, Eleanor and I built our world together. Yes, she introduced me to people who helped my career, but I worked myself to exhaustion to deserve those introductions." He took Camilla's hand. "And I never ever forgot where I came from." "Then why keep it from me?" "I didn't deliberately keep it from you," Gabriel insisted. "It just never seemed relevant to us, to what we were building." His eyes searched hers. "Does it change how you feel about me, knowing I grew up poor?" Camilla couldn't help laughing. "Gabriel, I still am poor. I live above a bakery, remember?" His face relaxed into a smile. "I remember. It's one of my favorite places in the world now." "Then why does Victoria think I don't belong in your life? That I'm a distraction from the foundation, from Elena's legacy?" Gabriel's smile faded. "Because Victoria has spent her life defining people by their bank accounts and social connections. She can't imagine that I might love you for exactly who you are, not for what you can do for my career or my image." The word love hung in the air between them. "Do you?" Camilla asked softly. "Love me?" Gabriel reached out to touch her cheek. "Yes, not out of gratitude, though I am grateful for how you've helped Matteo. Not because you remind me of Elena, because you don't. You're entirely your own person. I love you because you're Camilla, because you see me, the real me, not the polished version I show at board meetings." Tears filled Camilla's eyes. "I love you too, but I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of not fitting into your world, of holding you back, of not being enough for you and Matteo in the long run." Gabriel pulled her into his arms. "You already fit perfectly into the only world that matters, the one that includes me and Matteo. As for holding me back, Camilla, you've pushed me forward. You've shown me how to be a better father, a better man." He kissed her softly. "And you will always, always be more than enough for us." Camilla melted into his embrace, letting his words wash away her doubts. They sat together on the sofa, talking for hours, about his childhood in Arizona, her dreams of teaching, their fears and hopes for the future. "I want you to meet my colleagues," Gabriel said. "Come to the Foundation Gala next month. Let me introduce you properly to my world, as the woman I love, not as Matteo's tutor." "What will Victoria say?" Camilla asked. Gabriel smiled grimly. "Victoria can say whatever she wants, but she doesn't control the foundation, and she certainly doesn't control my life." That evening, when Matteo came home from school, he found them in the kitchen making dinner together. "Camilla!" he cried, running to hug her. "You came back!" "Of course I did," she said, hugging him tight. "I promised to help with your science project, remember?" Matteo looked from her to his father. "Are you still Daddy's girlfriend?" Gabriel came over and put his arm around both of them. "She's much more than that, buddy. She's the woman I love." Matteo's face lit up. "Does that mean she'll stay forever, like live here and everything?" Gabriel and Camilla exchanged glances. "We're not quite there yet," Gabriel said carefully. "But someday if Camilla wants to, yes." "I want to," Camilla said softly. "Someday." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of changes. Camilla accepted the teacher's aide position at Matteo's school, which meant she was no longer his tutor, but still saw him every day. She enrolled in evening classes to finish her degree, with Gabriel insisting on driving her to and from campus, despite her protests, that she could take the bus. "It's not about the money," he told her. "It's about spending time with you and keeping you safe." At school, Camilla quickly became a favorite with the children and the other teachers. Her natural gift for connecting with struggling students caught the principal's attention. "We need more teachers like you," Mrs. Winters told her after observing Camilla help a shy girl present her project to the class. "Once you finish your degree, I hope you'll consider a full-time position here." At home, Rosa and Abuela noticed the change in Camilla too. She glowed with happiness, talking excitedly about her students, her classes, and of course Gabriel and Mateo. "He's good for you," Rosa admitted reluctantly one evening as they folded laundry together. "I can see that now. He makes me happy." "Mama," Camilla said, "and I think I make him happy too." "Of course you do," Rosa said, patting her daughter's cheek. "How could you not?" The night of the foundation gala arrived, and Camilla stood in front of the small mirror in her bedroom, nervously smoothing the silk dress Gabriel had insisted on buying for her. "You look like a princess," Rosa said from the doorway, her eyes shining with pride. "I feel like an imposter," Camilla admitted. "All those wealthy people, the board members—" "Pa," Abuela scoffed, joining them. "Money doesn't make the person. Heart does, and you have more heart than all of them put together." The doorbell rang and Uncle Miguel called up the stairs. "Camila, your prince is here." Gabriel stood in the bakery, handsome in his tuxedo, a small box in his hands. Mateo was beside him, adorable in his own little suit. "You look beautiful," Gabriel said, his eyes never leaving Camilla's face. "We brought you something," Mateo announced, nudging his father. Gabriel opened the box to reveal a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a book. "For the teacher who taught us both how to live again," he said, fastening it around her neck. The gala was being held at an elegant hotel downtown. As they walked into the ballroom, Camilla felt every eye turn toward them. Victoria, dressed in a stunning black gown, visibly stiffened when she saw them. "Ignore her," Gabriel whispered, his hand firm on the small of Camilla's back. "Tonight is about celebrating Elena's legacy and introducing the woman I love to my colleagues." Throughout the evening, Gabriel proudly introduced Camilla to everyone, board, members, donors, old friends. To her surprise, most of them were warm and welcoming. "Gabriel hasn't looked this happy in years," an older woman told her privately. Eleanor would have approved. She always said he needed someone with a real heart, not just a social pedigree. Victoria maintained her distance until the dinner, when she found herself seated at the same table as Gabriel and Camilla. "Quite the Cinderella story," she said coolly as the servers brought the first course. "The tutor and the widower." "Victoria," Gabriel warned. "No, it's fine," Camilla said, meeting Victoria's gaze steadily. "I understand you're protective of your sister's memory, but I'm not trying to replace Eleanor. I'm just trying to love the family she left behind." Victoria's expression faltered. For a moment, her perfect mask slipped, revealing a glimpse of the grief she still carried. "My sister loved that boy more than anything," she said, nodding toward Mateo, who was happily coloring on a children's menu at the next table with his nanny. "His happiness is what matters." "On that, we completely agree," Camilla said softly. After dinner, Gabriel was called to the stage to give a speech about the foundation's work. Camilla watched with pride as he spoke passionately about arts education for underprivileged children. "My late wife Elena believed that art could save lives," he said. "She believed that every child deserves beauty in their world, regardless of their circumstances." He paused, his eyes finding Camilla in the crowd. "And she was right. Beauty and love can find us in the most unexpected places, if we're brave enough to let them in." As the evening wound down, Gabriel led Camilla onto the dance floor for a slow dance. "Was it terrible?" he asked, holding her close. "Being thrown into the deep end of my other life?" Camilla smiled up at him. "Not terrible, just different. Everyone's been very kind, mostly." "Victoria will come around," Gabriel said, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. "Or she won't. Either way, it doesn't change how I feel about you." "And how is that?" Camilla teased, feeling light and happy in his arms. Gabriel's expression grew serious. Like I've been given a second chance at happiness. Like I found something I didn't even know I was looking for. As they danced, Camilla caught sight of Victoria watching them from across the room. There was something different in her expression now. Less hostility, more thoughtful assessment. Later, as they were preparing to leave, Victoria approached them. She handed Camilla a business card. "The foundation is looking for someone to coordinate our school programs," she said briskly. "Someone who understands education and children. If you're interested, call my assistant to set up an interview." Camilla stared at the card in shock. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an interview," Victoria corrected. "The job will depend on your qualifications, not your relationship with my brother-in-law." Gabriel looked just as surprised as Camilla. "Victoria, that's a practical solution," Victoria interrupted. "The foundation needs someone with Ms. Herrera's skills, and this way there's no conflict of interest with her current position at the school." She nodded curtly. "Good night." As she walked away, Gabriel shook his head in amazement. "Well, that's Victoria's version of an olive branch." "Should I call?" Camilla asked, still staring at the card. "Only if you want to," Gabriel said. "But it is a great opportunity. The foundation does important work." Camilla tucked the card into her purse. "I'll think about it. But first, I want to finish my degree. I need to accomplish that on my own." Gabriel kissed her forehead. "You'll accomplish anything you set your mind to, and I'll be right beside you, cheering you on." As they drove home, Matteo fell asleep in the back seat. Worn out from the excitement, Gabriel reached for Camilla's hand. "Move in with us," he said suddenly. Camilla looked at him in surprise. "What?" "Move in with us," Gabriel repeated. "I know. It's fast, but I hate saying goodbye to you every night. I hate waking up without you. And Matteo keeps asking when you're going to stay forever." "Gabriel, if you're not ready, I understand," he said quickly. "We can wait. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Camilla squeezed his hand. "It's not that I'm not ready. It's that I want to do this right, for Matteo's sake, and for ours." "What would right look like to you?" Gabriel asked. Camilla thought. "About it. Finishing my degree first, getting established in my career, making sure Matteo really understands what a big change it would be." Gabriel nodded slowly. "That makes sense. So, not no, just not yet." "Exactly," Camilla said, leaning over to kiss his cheek. "Not yet, but someday soon." 2 weeks later, Camilla received a phone call that changed everything. It was the Dean of Education at Stanford University. "Ms. Herrera," the woman said, "we've received your application for our advanced teaching program, along with a very impressive recommendation from Elaine Winters at Westbrook Academy." Camilla's heart raced. She had applied months ago before meeting Gabriel and Matteo, never expecting to be accepted to such a prestigious program. "We're pleased to offer you a place in our program," the dean continued, "with a full scholarship including living expenses." "A full scholarship?" Camilla repeated, stunned. "That's incredible, thank you. You'll need to let us know your decision within 2 weeks," the dean said. "The program begins in September." After hanging up, Camilla sat on the edge of her bed, her mind spinning. Stanford, a full scholarship, the opportunity of a lifetime, one she'd worked towards since she was a teenager. But Stanford was in Northern California, hundreds of miles away from Los Angeles. From Gabriel and Matteo, from her family. That evening, when Gabriel came to pick her up for dinner, Camilla was unusually quiet. "Is everything okay?" he asked as they drove to the restaurant. "I got a call today," Camilla said, staring out the window. "From Stanford University." Gabriel glanced at her. "Stanford? What did they want?" "They've offered me a place in their advanced teaching program with a full scholarship." Gabriel pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her. "Camilla, that's amazing. Stanford is one of the best education programs in the country." His genuine excitement made her eyes fill with tears. "It's in Northern California, Gabriel, hours away." Understanding dawned on his face. "Oh, I applied months ago, before I met you and Matteo. I never thought I'd actually get in," Camilla explained. Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. "When would you have to leave?" "September, about 3 months from now." He nodded slowly. "I see. Then, taking her hand, he said, "You have to accept." Camilla looked at him in surprise. "What?" "This is your dream, Camilla. The opportunity of a lifetime. I would never forgive myself if I was the reason you gave it up." "But what about us? What about Matteo?" Gabriel squeezed her hand. "We'll figure it out. There are planes, trains, cars, weekend visits. We can make it work for 2 years." "You'd wait for me?" Camilla asked, her voice small. "I'd do more than wait," Gabriel said firmly. "I'd support you, cheer for you, fly up to see you whenever possible, and when you finish, you'll come back to us with your degree, ready to change the world." Camilla felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "I was so afraid you'd be angry, or that you'd try to convince me not to go." Gabriel shook his head. "Never. Loving someone means wanting the best for them, even when it's hard." He cupped her cheek. "My father used to say that the true test of love isn't how it feels when things are easy, but what it does when things are difficult." "And what does our love do?" Camilla asked softly. Gabriel smiled. "It gives us courage to reach for our dreams, to trust each other, to believe that some distances are worth crossing." That night they told Matteo about Stanford over ice cream. He took the news better than Camilla had feared. "But you'll come back, right?" he asked. His spoon paused halfway to his mouth. "Absolutely," Camilla promised. "And you and your dad can visit me. I'll show you the campus and we can explore San Francisco." Matteo considered this. "Will you call me every night? To read stories?" "Every single night," Camilla assured him. "Then it's okay," he decided, "as long as you come back to us when you're done learning." Gabriel ruffled his son's hair. "She will, buddy. Some people are meant to be in our lives forever, even if they have to go away for a little while." Matteo nodded wisely. "Like Mom, she went away, but she's still with us in our hearts." Camilla and Gabriel exchanged glances, both moved by the simple wisdom of his words. "Exactly like that," Gabriel said softly. "The people we love are always with us, no matter where they are." The next day, Camilla called Stanford to accept their offer. Then she called Victoria to decline the foundation job interview. "I understand," Victoria said, sounding surprisingly understanding. "Stanford is an excellent opportunity, but the door will remain open. The foundation will still be here when you finish your degree." "Thank you," Camilla said, touched by the unexpected support. "That means a lot to me." As summer progressed, Camilla finished her classes at the local college and prepared for her move to Stanford. Gabriel insisted on driving her up to help her get settled in her student apartment. "It's only a 6-hour drive," he said. "Matteo and I can make that trip at least once a month." "And I'll come home for holidays," Camilla promised. The day before, they were set to leave. Gabriel took Camilla to dinner at an elegant restaurant overlooking the ocean. As the sun set over the water, he reached across the table for her hand. "I know we agreed to wait," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "Do things in the right order. But before you go, I need you to know something." He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and placed it on the table between them. "This isn't a proposal," he said quickly, seeing her wide-eyed expression. "Not yet. It's a promise." He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver ring set with a small diamond. "A promise that when you come back to us, when you've achieved your dream, I'll be waiting to ask you properly. To start our life together, officially, permanently." Tears spilled down Camilla's cheeks. "Gabriel, you don't have to wear it," he continued. "You don't have to say anything right now. I just wanted you to know that these 2 years aren't an ending for us, they're just a pause." Camilla reached for the ring with trembling fingers. "It's beautiful." "It was my mother's," Gabriel said softly. "The only thing of value she had. My father saved for years to buy it for her." The knowledge that he was giving her something so personal, so meaningful, touched Camilla deeply. "I'll wear it," she whispered, "as a promise." Gabriel slipped the ring onto her right hand. "When I propose for real, we'll move it to the other hand." Camilla leaned across the table to kiss him. "I love you, Gabriel Langston. Distance won't change that." "I love you too," he said, "more than I ever thought possible after losing Elena. You taught me that the heart can heal, that love doesn't end with loss." The next morning, they loaded Camilla's belongings into Gabriel's car. Matteo insisted on bringing a box of his own drawings for Camilla to hang in her new apartment. "So you won't forget what I look like," he explained seriously. "As if I could ever forget you," Camilla said, hugging him tight. Saying goodbye to her family was harder than Camilla had expected. Rosa cried openly, while Abuela tried to maintain a brave face. "You show those fancy Stanford professors what a Herrera can do," Abuela said, pressing a bag of baked goods into Camilla's hands. "And remember where you come from." "I will," Camilla promised. Uncle Miguel hugged her fiercely. "We are so proud of you, Nina. So proud." The drive to Stanford was bittersweet. Gabriel and Matteo pointed out interesting sights along the way, trying to keep the mood light. But as they got closer to their destination, a quiet sadness settled over them all. Camilla's student apartment was small but clean, with a tiny kitchen and a bedroom just big enough for a bed and a desk. Gabriel spent the afternoon helping her unpack, while Matteo carefully arranged his drawings on one wall. "There," he said proudly when they were all taped up, "now we'll be with you all the time." That night, after Matteo had fallen asleep on the fold-out couch, Gabriel and Camilla sat on the steps outside her apartment, looking up at the stars. "Are you scared?" he asked, his arm around her shoulders. "A little," Camilla admitted. "What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail?" "You won't fail," Gabriel said confidently. "You're the strongest, smartest woman I know, and even if things get tough, you have us behind you all the way. And if I do, if I fail, if I can't handle being away from you and Matteo?" Gabriel turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "Then you come home. We figure out a new plan, together." Camilla leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm going to miss you so much. And we'll miss you. But this is just a chapter in our story, Camilla. Not the end." The next morning, they stood beside Gabriel's car, the moment of separation upon them. Matteo clung to Camilla, his face buried in her shirt. "Remember your promise," he said, his voice muffled. "Call every night for stories." "I will," Camilla assured him. "And you remember your promise too, to be good for Mrs. Jenkins at school?" Matteo nodded solemnly. Then, with a final hug, he climbed into the back seat of the car, leaving Camilla and Gabriel alone. Gabriel pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he never wanted to let go. "This is the right thing," he whispered. "For your future. For our future." "I know," Camilla said, though her heart was breaking. "I'll make you proud. You already have. I'll complete part 3 of the story, continuing from where it was cut off. Lessons of the Heart Part 3 continued." Gabriel's smile faded. "No, that's Victoria's version. The truth is, Eleanor and I built our world together. Yes, she introduced me to people who helped my career, but I worked myself to exhaustion to deserve those introductions." He took Camilla's hand. "And I never, ever forgot where I came from." "Then why keep it from me?" "I didn't deliberately keep it from you," Gabriel insisted. "It just never seemed relevant to us, to what we were building." His eyes searched hers. "Does it change how you feel about me, knowing I grew up poor?" Camilla couldn't help laughing. "Gabriel, I still am poor. I live above a bakery, remember?" His face relaxed into a smile. "I remember. It's one of my favorite places in the world now." "Then why does Victoria think I don't belong in your life? That I'm a distraction from the foundation, from Elena's legacy?" Gabriel's smile faded. "Because Victoria has spent her life defining people by their bank accounts and social connections. She can't imagine that I might love you for exactly who you are, not for what you can do for my career or my image." The word love hung in the air between them. "Do you?" Camilla asked softly. "Love me?" Gabriel reached out to touch her cheek. "Yes. Not out of gratitude, though I am grateful for how you've helped Matteo. Not because you remind me of Elena, because you don't. You're entirely your own person. I love you because you're Camilla. Because you see me, the real me, not the polished version I show at board meetings." Tears filled Camilla's eyes. "I love you too, but I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of not fitting into your world, of holding you back." Of not being enough for you and Matteo in the long run. Gabriel pulled her into his arms. You already fit perfectly into the only world that matters, the one that includes me and Matteo. As for holding me back, Camilla, you've pushed me forward. You've shown me how to be a better father, a better man. He kissed her softly. And you will always be more than enough for us. Camilla melted into his embrace, letting his words wash away her doubts. They sat together on the sofa, talking for hours about his childhood in Arizona, her dreams of teaching, their fears and hopes for the future. I want you to meet my colleagues, Gabriel said. Come to the Foundation Gala next month. Let me introduce you properly to my world, as the woman I love, not as Matteo's tutor. What will Victoria say? Camilla asked. Gabriel smiled grimly. Victoria can say whatever she wants, but she doesn't control the foundation, and she certainly doesn't control my life. That evening, when Matteo came home from school, he found them in the kitchen making dinner together. Camilla, he cried, running to hug her. You came back. Of course I did, she said, hugging him tight. I promised to help with your science project, remember? Matteo looked from her to his father. Are you still Daddy's girlfriend? Gabriel came over and put his arm around both of them. She's much more than that, buddy. She's the woman I love. Matteo's face lit up. Does that mean she'll stay forever? Like live here and everything? Gabriel and Camilla exchanged glances. We're not quite there yet, Gabriel said carefully. But someday if Camilla wants to. Yes. I want to, Camilla said softly. Someday. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of changes. Camilla accepted the teacher's aide position at Matteo's school, which meant she was no longer his tutor, but still saw him every day. She enrolled in evening classes to finish her degree, with Gabriel insisting on driving her to and from campus, despite her protests that she could take the bus. It's not about the money, he told her. It's about spending time with you, and keeping you safe. At school, Camilla quickly became a favorite with the children and the other teachers. Her natural gift for connecting with struggling students caught the principal's attention. We need more teachers like you, Mrs. Winters told her, after observing Camilla help a shy girl present her project to the class. Once you finish your degree, I hope you'll consider a full-time position here. At home, Rosa and Abuela noticed the change in Camilla too. She glowed with happiness, talking excitedly about her students, her classes, and of course Gabriel and Matteo. He's good for you, Rosa admitted reluctantly one evening as they folded laundry together. I can see that now. He makes me happy, Mama, Camilla said, and I think I make him happy too. Of course you do, Rosa said, patting her daughter's cheek. How could you not? The night of the Foundation Gala arrived, and Camilla stood in front of the small mirror in her bedroom, nervously smoothing the silk dress Gabriel had insisted on buying for her. You look like a princess, Rosa said from the doorway, her eyes shining with pride. I feel like an imposter, Camilla admitted. All those wealthy people, the board members. Pa, Abuela scoffed, joining them. Money doesn't make the person. Heart does. And you have more heart than all of them put together. The doorbell rang and Uncle Miguel called up the stairs. Camilla, your prince is here. Gabriel stood in the bakery, handsome in his tuxedo, a small box in his hands. Matteo was beside him, adorable in his own little suit. You look beautiful, Gabriel said, his eyes never leaving Camilla's face. We brought you something, Matteo announced. Nudging his father, Gabriel opened the box to reveal a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a book. For the teacher who taught us both how to live again, he said, fastening it around her neck. The gala was being held at an elegant hotel downtown. As they walked into the ballroom, Camilla felt every eye turn toward them. Victoria, dressed in a stunning black gown, visibly stiffened when she saw them. Ignore her, Gabriel whispered, his hand firm on the small of Camilla's back. Tonight is about celebrating Elena's legacy and introducing the woman I love to my colleagues. Throughout the evening, Gabriel proudly introduced Camilla to everyone, board members, donors, old friends. To her surprise, most of them were warm and welcoming. Gabriel hasn't looked this happy in years, an older woman told her, privately. Eleanor would have approved. She always said he needed someone with a real heart, not just a social pedigree. Victoria maintained her distance until the dinner, when she found herself seated at the same table as Gabriel and Camilla. "Quite the Cinderella story," she said coolly as the servers brought the first course. "The tutor and the widower." "Victoria," Gabriel warned. "No, it's fine," Camilla said, meeting Victoria's gaze steadily. "I understand you're protective of your sister's memory, but I'm not trying to replace Elena. I'm just trying to love the family she left behind." Victoria's expression faltered. For a moment, her perfect mask slipped, revealing a glimpse of the grief she still carried. "My sister loved that boy more than anything," she said, nodding toward Matteo, who was happily coloring on a children's menu at the next table with his nanny. "His happiness is what matters." "On that, we completely agree," Camilla said softly. After dinner, Gabriel was called to the stage to give a speech about the Foundation's work. Camilla watched with pride as he spoke passionately about arts education for underprivileged children. "My late wife, Elena, believed that art could save lives," he said. "She believed that every child deserves beauty in their world, regardless of their circumstances." He paused, his eyes finding Camilla in the crowd. "And she was right. Beauty and love can find us in the most unexpected places if we're brave enough to let them in." As the evening wound down, Gabriel led Camilla onto the dance floor for a slow dance. "Was it terrible?" he asked, holding her close. "Being thrown into the deep end of my other life?" Camilla smiled up at him. "Not terrible, just different. Everyone's been very kind, mostly." "Victoria will come around," Gabriel said, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. "Or she won't. Either way, it doesn't change how I feel about you." "And how is that?" Camilla teased, feeling light and happy in his arms. Gabriel's expression grew serious. "Like I've been given a second chance at happiness. Like I found something I didn't even know I was looking for." As they danced, Camilla caught sight of Victoria watching them from across the room. There was something different in her expression. Now less hostility, more thoughtful assessment. Later, as they were preparing to leave, Victoria approached them. She handed Camilla a business card. "The Foundation is looking for someone to coordinate our school programs," she said briskly. "Someone who understands education and children. If you're interested, call my assistant to set up an interview." Camilla stared at the card in shock. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an interview," Victoria corrected. "The job will depend on your qualifications, not your relationship with my brother-in-law." Gabriel looked just as surprised as Camilla. "Victoria, that's a practical solution," Victoria interrupted. "The Foundation needs someone with Ms. Herrera's skills, and this way, there's no conflict of interest with her current position at the school." She nodded curtly. "Good night." As she walked away, Gabriel shook his head in amazement. "Well, that's Victoria's version of an olive branch." "Should I call?" Camilla asked, still staring at the card. "Only if you want to," Gabriel said. "But it is a great opportunity. The Foundation does important work." Camilla tucked the card into her purse. "I'll think about it. But first, I want to finish my degree. I need to accomplish that on my own." Gabriel kissed her forehead. "You'll accomplish anything you set your mind to, and I'll be right beside you, cheering you on." As they drove home, Matteo fell asleep in the back seat, worn out from the excitement. Gabriel reached for Camilla's hand. "Move in with us," he said. Suddenly, Camilla looked at him in surprise. "What?" "Move in with us," Gabriel repeated. "I know it's fast, but I hate saying goodbye to you every night. I hate waking up without you. And Matteo keeps asking when you're going to stay forever." Gabriel, If you're not ready, I understand," he said quickly. "We can wait." "I just wanted you to know how I feel." Camilla squeezed his hand. "It's not that I'm not ready. It's that I want to do this right, for Matteo's sake and for ours." "What would right look like to you?" Gabriel asked. Camilla thought about it. "Finishing my degree first, getting established in my career, making sure Matteo really understands what a big change it would be." Gabriel nodded slowly. "That makes sense. So not no, just not yet?" "Exactly," Camilla said, leaning over to kiss his cheek. "Not yet, but someday soon." 2 weeks later, Camilla received a phone call that changed everything. It was the Dean of Education at Stanford University. Ms. Herrera, the woman said, we've received your application for our advanced teaching program, along with a very impressive recommendation from Elaine Winters at Westbrook Academy. Camilla's heart raced. She had applied months ago before meeting Gabriel and Matteo, never expecting to be accepted to such a prestigious program. We're pleased to offer you a place in our program, the dean continued, with a full scholarship including living expenses. A full scholarship? Camilla repeated, stunned. That's incredible, thank you. You'll need to let us know your decision within 2 weeks, the dean said. The program begins in September. After hanging up, Camilla sat on the edge of her bed, her mind spinning. Stanford, a full scholarship, the opportunity of a lifetime, one she'd worked toward since she was a teenager. But Stanford was in Northern California, hundreds of miles away from Los Angeles, from Gabriel and Matteo, from her family. That evening when Gabriel came to pick her up for dinner, Camilla was unusually quiet. Is everything okay? He asked as they drove to the restaurant. I got a call today, Camilla said, staring out the window. From Stanford University. Gabriel glanced at her. Stanford? What did they want? They've offered me a place in their advanced teaching program, with a full scholarship. Gabriel pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face Haru. Camilla, that's amazing. Stanford is one of the best education programs in the country. His genuine excitement made her eyes fill with tears. It's in Northern California, Gabriel, hours away. Understanding dawned on his face. Oh, I applied, months ago before I met you and Matteo. I never thought I'd actually get in, Camilla explained. Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. When would you have to leave? September, about 3 months from now. He nodded slowly. I see. Then, taking her hand, he said, You have to accept. Camilla looked at him in surprise. What? This is your dream, Camilla. The opportunity of a lifetime. I would never forgive myself if I was the reason you gave it up. But what about us? What about Matteo? Gabriel squeezed her hand. We'll figure it out. There are planes, trains, cars, weekend visits. We can make it work for 2 years. You'd wait for me? Camilla asked, her voice small. I'd do more than wait, Gabriel said firmly. I'd support you, cheer for you, fly up to see you whenever possible. And when you finish, you'll come back to us with your degree, ready to change the world. Camilla felt a weight lift from her shoulders. I was so afraid you'd be angry, or that you'd try to convince me not to go. Gabriel shook his head. Never. Loving someone means wanting the best for them, even when it's hard. He cupped her cheek. My father used to say that the true test of love isn't how it feels when things are easy, but what it does when things are difficult. And what does our love do? Camilla asked softly. Gabriel smiled. It gives us courage to reach for our dreams, to trust each other, to believe that some distances are worth crossing. That night they told Matteo about Stanford over ice cream. He took the news better than Camilla had feared. But you'll come back, right? He asked. His spoon paused halfway to his mouth. Absolutely, Camilla promised. And you and your dad can visit me. I'll show you the campus and we can explore San Francisco. Matteo considered this. Will you call me every night to read stories? Every single night, Camilla assured him. Then it's okay, he decided, as long as you come back to us when you're done learning. Gabriel ruffled his son's hair. She will, buddy. Some people are meant to be in our lives forever, even if they have to go away for a little while. Matteo nodded wisely. Like Mom. She went away, but she's still with us in our hearts. Camilla and Gabriel exchanged glances, both moved by the simple wisdom of his words. Exactly like that, Gabriel said softly. The people we love are always with us, no matter where they are. You already have, Gabriel said, holding Camilla close. Just promise me one thing. Anything, Camilla whispered, breathing in his scent. One last time. Promise you'll remember that we're here waiting for you, that no matter how amazing your new life becomes, there's a place for you with us. Camilla looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears. I promise. This isn't goodbye. Gabriel, it's just see you soon. With one final kiss, Gabriel got into the car. Matteo waved frantically from the back window as they drove away, and Camilla waved back until they disappeared around the corner. Only then did she let the tears fall freely. That night, alone in her new apartment, Camilla called Matteo, as promised, to read him a bedtime story. The sound of his sleepy voice made her heart ache with longing. "I miss you already," Matteo said as they finished the story. "Daddy does too. He's been really quiet since we got home." "I miss you both," Camilla admitted. "But we'll see each other soon, and every night we'll talk like this. Promise?" "Cross my heart," Camilla said. "Sweet dreams, Matteo." The first few weeks at Stanford were a whirlwind of classes, new faces, and adjustments. Camilla threw herself into her studies, determined to make the most of this opportunity. Her professors were impressed by her practical experience and passion for teaching. "You have a natural gift," Dr. Patterson, her educational psychology professor, told her after she presented a case study. "Some people study teaching for years, but never truly understand how to connect with children the way you do." Weekends were reserved for video calls with Gabriel and Matteo. They showed her the changes they were making to the house, painting Matteo's room blue, his new favorite color, planting a garden with yellow flowers in memory of Eleanor, converting the guest room closest to Matteo's into a space for Camilla. "For when you visit," Gabriel explained, "and eventually for when you come home to us." True to his word, Gabriel drove up with Matteo once a month. Those weekends were precious, exploring the campus together, picnicking under the Stanford oak trees, introducing Gabriel and Matteo to her new friends. At night, after Matteo was asleep on the fold-out couch, Gabriel and Camilla would talk for hours, reconnecting and reaffirming their commitment to each other. "Sometimes I feel guilty," Camilla confessed during one such visit. "Like I'm being selfish, pursuing my dream while you two are back in LA without me." Gabriel brushed a strand of hair from her face. "There's nothing selfish about following your path, Camilla. We're not going anywhere, and watching you thrive, it's amazing." October brought midterm exams and a brief visit from Rosa and Abuela, who came loaded with food and advice. "You're too thin," Abuela declared, unpacking containers of tamales. "And mole. Do they not feed you at this fancy school?" "I'm fine, Abuela," Camila laughed. "Just busy." Rosa looked around the tiny apartment, taking in the wall of Matteo's drawings and the framed photo of Camila with Gabriel and Matteo at the beach. "You miss them," she observed. "Every day," Camilla admitted, "but the work is fascinating and the time is passing quickly." "And the Langston man? He is keeping his promises?" Camilla showed her mother the silver ring on her right hand. Every single one. As fall turned to winter, Camilla settled into a routine. Weekdays were filled with classes and study groups, weekends with video calls and occasional visits. Gabriel came alone for her birthday in November, taking her to a beautiful restaurant in San Francisco. "Matteo helped pick this out," he said, giving her a small wrapped package. Inside was a delicate charm bracelet with 3 charms, a book, a tiny house, and a heart. "The book is for your teaching," Gabriel explained. "The house is for the home waiting for you, and the heart, well, that one's obvious." Camilla blinked back tears as he fastened it around her wrist. "It's perfect." The winter holidays brought a 2-week break, and Camilla returned to Los Angeles. Stepping back into the Langston house felt like coming home. Matteo had grown at least an inch, and Gabriel had a few more silver strands in his dark hair, but their love for her was unchanged. Christmas was a blend of traditions. Abuela's feast at the bakery on Christmas Eve, followed by gifts at the Langston house on Christmas morning. Gabriel surprised everyone by speaking halting Spanish with Rosa and Abuela, who were delighted by his efforts. "He's been taking lessons," Matteo whispered to Camilla, "so he can talk to your family better." The gesture touched Camilla deeply. That night, as they sat by the fireplace after Matteo had gone to bed, she told Gabriel, "You didn't have to learn Spanish for me. I wanted to," he said simply. "It's part of who you are, part of your heritage. And someday it will be part of our family's heritage too. Our family." The words hung in the air between them, full of promise. "I've been thinking," Gabriel said, carefully, "about what happens when you graduate, about our future." "Me too," Camilla admitted. "Would you consider, that is, would you want to?" Gabriel seemed uncharacteristically nervous. I know we talked about waiting until you finished your program, but I don't want to wait to ask if you'll marry me when you're done. Camilla's heart raced. Are you proposing? Not exactly. Not yet. Gabriel took her hands. I'm proposing that we get engaged when you come home for spring break, officially, with your family there and Matteo, and even Victoria if she promises to behave. Camilla laughed, joy bubbling up inside her. Yes, I'd like that very much. The winter months passed in a blur of papers, projects, and phone calls. Camilla excelled in her classes, even as she counted the days until spring break. Gabriel and Matteo visited in February, bringing Valentine's cards from Matteo's class and news from home. Victoria's dating someone, Gabriel reported with a hint of amusement. An art professor from UCLA. She actually asked if you'd have coffee with them when you're home for spring break. Really? Camilla was surprised. That's unexpected. He's good for her, Gabriel said. Makes her less rigid, more human. March arrived and with it preparations for spring break. Camilla's professors loaded her with reading assignments for the break, but she didn't mind. She'd find time between family moments to get the work done. 3 days before she was due to fly home, Camilla was leaving the library late at night when her phone rang. It was Rosa, her voice tight with worry. Mija, it's Gabriel. There's been an accident. Camilla's world stopped. Is he okay? He's in surgery now. A car crash on the freeway. Matteo was with him. Matteo! Camilla's voice rose in panic. Is he hurt? Some cuts and bruises, but the doctors say he'll be fine. He's asking for you. I'm coming right now, Camilla said, already running toward her apartment. Which hospital? Within hours, Camilla was on a late-night flight to Los Angeles, her mind racing with fear and prayers. Rosa met her at the airport, her face drawn with fatigue. Any news? Camilla asked as they hurried to the car. He's out of surgery, Rosa said. The doctors say it went well, but he hasn't woken up yet. And Matteo? With your grandmother at the hospital, he won't leave his father's side. The hospital corridor seemed endless. As Camilla raced toward the ICU, she found Abuela sitting outside Gabriel's room, her rosary beads moving steadily through her fingers. He's inside, Abuela said, nodding toward the door. The little one finally fell asleep beside him. Camilla entered the room quietly. The sight of Gabriel in the hospital bed, tubes and monitors surrounding him, made her knees weak. Matteo was curled up in a chair beside the bed, his small hand clutching his father's. She approached silently, not wanting to wake Matteo. Gabriel's face was pale, a bandage covering one side of his head, his right arm in a cast. But his chest rose and fell steadily, and the monitors showed a strong heartbeat. Camilla leaned down and pressed a kiss to his forehead. I'm here, she whispered. We're going to get through this. Matteo stirred, his eyes fluttering open. When he saw Camilla, his face crumpled. Camilla, you came. Of course I came, she said, gathering him into her arms. I'll always come when you need me. Matteo buried his face in her shoulder. Daddy won't wake up. The doctors say he hit his head really hard. Your daddy is very strong, Camilla assured him, though her own heart was breaking. And he has a lot to live for, especially you. And you, Matteo said solemnly. He was talking about you right before the crash, about how happy he was that you were coming home. Camilla held Matteo until he fell asleep again, then gently laid him back in the chair. She pulled another chair close to Gabriel's bed and took his uninjured hand in hers. I'm here, Gabriel, she said softly. Matteo's safe. We're waiting for you to wake up. The night stretched endlessly. Nurses came and went, checking monitors and adjusting medications. Camilla refused to leave, even when Rosa brought food and urged her to rest. I need to be here when he wakes up, she insisted. As dawn broke, casting a pale light through the hospital window, Camilla felt Gabriel's fingers twitch in hers. She sat up straight, hardly daring to hope. Gabriel, can you hear me? His eyelids fluttered, then slowly opened. For a moment he seemed confused, his gaze unfocused. Then his eyes found hers. Camilla. His voice was a raspy whisper. You're here, Matteo. He's right here, Camilla said, tears of relief streaming down her face. He's fine, just sleeping. Gabriel tried to sit up, then winced in pain. What happened? There was an accident. Your car was hit on the freeway, but you're going to be okay. Matteo stirred at the sound of voices and opened his eyes. When he saw his father awake, he let out a cry of joy. Daddy, you're awake. Gabriel managed a small smile. Hey, buddy, are you? Okay, I'm fine. The doctor said I was brave. And Camilla came all the way from school to be with us. You did? Gabriel's eyes, still clouded with pain, focused on Camilla with love. Wild horses couldn't have kept me away, she said, squeezing his hand gently. The doctor arrived to examine. Gabriel, explaining that he had a concussion, a broken arm, and some internal bruising, but was expected to make a full recovery. You're a lucky man, Mr. Langston, the doctor said. It could have been much worse. I know exactly how lucky I am, Gabriel replied, his eyes on Camilla and Matteo. The next few days were a blur of hospital visits, consultations with doctors, and making arrangements for Gabriel's care when he was released. Camilla called Stanford to explain the situation, and her professors were understanding, giving her an extended leave. Your family needs you, Dr. Patterson said. The work will be here when you get back. When Gabriel was finally released from the hospital, there was a brief debate about where he should recover. He should come to our place, Abuela declared. I can keep an eye on him and make sure he eats properly. Abuela, that's very kind, but there's no space, Camilla pointed out gently. And he needs rest. I want to go home, Gabriel said firmly, with Matteo, and I'm hoping Camilla will stay. With us, at least, until I'm back on my feet. So it was decided. Mrs. Peterson would help with household tasks, and Camilla would stay at the Langston house to help care for both Gabriel and Matteo. The first week of Gabriel's recovery was the hardest. He was in pain, frustrated by his limitations, and worried about work. The company can run without you for a few weeks, Camilla told him firmly when he tried to set up a home office in bed. Your job right now is to get better. Gradually, a new routine emerged. Camilla would get Matteo ready for school in the mornings, then spend the day helping Gabriel with exercises, medication, and keeping his spirits up. In the evenings, they would all have dinner together. Then Camilla would help Matteo with his homework while Gabriel rested. One evening, about 2 weeks after the accident, Gabriel asked Matteo to bring him the small box from his dresser drawer. What are you doing? Camilla asked as Matteo ran to fulfill the request. Something I should have done a long time ago, Gabriel said. The accident made me realize something important. Life is too short to wait for the perfect moment. Matteo returned with the box, the same velvet box that held the promise ring Camilla wore on her right hand. Matteo, remember what we talked about? Before the accident, Gabriel asked. About asking Camilla a very important question? Matteo nodded excitedly. Are we doing it now? We are, Gabriel confirmed. He turned to Camilla, who was watching them with wide eyes. This isn't how I planned. There was supposed to be a fancy dinner, both our families, flowers me, but I don't want to wait another day. He opened the box to reveal a beautiful engagement ring, a diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the evening light. Camilla Herrera, you came into our lives when we needed you most. You taught my son to smile again, and you taught me to love again. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife and Matteo's mother? Tears filled Camilla's eyes. Yes, she whispered. Yes to both. Gabriel took the promise ring from her right hand and replaced it with the engagement ring, then slipped the promise ring onto her right ring finger again. The set belongs together, he explained, just like we do. Matteo cheered and threw his arms around both of them. Does this mean Camilla is staying forever now? Almost, Camilla said, hugging him tight. I still need to finish my program at Stanford, but I'll be home much more often, and when I graduate, I'll come home for good. That night, after Matteo was asleep, Camilla and Gabriel sat on the patio looking at the stars. Are you sure about this timing? Camilla asked. I still have a year left at Stanford. I'm sure about us, Gabriel said simply. The timing is just details. What about your work? The foundation? Gabriel smiled. Funny you should mention that. Victoria called today. The foundation is planning to open a new arts education center in Northern California, not far from Stanford. They'll need someone to oversee the project, someone who understands both business and education. Camilla caught her breath. You? If I want it. It would mean dividing my time between LA and Northern California for the next year, but I'd be near. You while you finish your program. He looked at her questioningly. What do you think? I think that sounds like a perfect compromise, Camilla said, joy bubbling up inside her. But what about Matteo, his school, his routine? We'd work it out. Maybe he stays here with Mrs. Peterson during the week, and we all spend weekends together. Or maybe he comes with me, and we find a good school near Stanford. Gabriel took her hand. The point is, we'd be together more often. We'd be building our life together, instead of putting it on hold. When did you get so wise? Camilla asked, leaning her head on his shoulder. I had a good teacher, Gabriel said softly. She showed me that love isn't about waiting for perfect circumstances. It's about making space for each other, wherever we are. The next day, they shared their news with both families. Rosa and Abuela cried happy tears, while Uncle Miguel shook Gabriel's hand with genuine warmth. You take care of our Camila, he said gruffly. She is the best of us. I know, Gabriel replied. I promise I will. Even Victoria, when told of the engagement, offered congratulations. Elena would approve, she said simply. She always wanted Gabriel and Matteo to be happy. Spring turned to summer, and Camilla divided her time between Stanford and Los Angeles. True to his word, Gabriel arranged to work on the Foundation's new project in Northern California, allowing them to be together more often. They found a small house to rent near the campus, where Matteo could stay during his visits. I like having two homes, Matteo declared one weekend as they planted flowers in the small garden. One in LA with my old school and friends, and one here, with you guys and my new friends. Is it confusing? Camilla asked, worried about the effect of the back and forth on him. Matteo shook his head. Nope, home is where you and Daddy are, that's all. By fall, they had settled into their new arrangement. Gabriel spent 3 weeks a month in Northern California and 1 week in Los Angeles for board meetings and foundation business. Matteo stayed with him, enrolled in a school near their rented house, adjusting with the resilience of childhood. Camilla continued her studies with renewed purpose, knowing that each completed assignment brought her closer to their shared future. Her professors were impressed by her dedication, and several approached her about staying at Stanford for a doctoral program. You have the potential to make significant contributions to the field, Dr. Patterson told her. We'd love to have you continue your research here. The offer was tempting, but Camilla's heart was set on returning to Los Angeles, to the practical work of teaching children. Thank you, she said sincerely, but I need to get back into the classroom. That's where I belong. Dr. Patterson smiled, understandingly. The children of Los Angeles are lucky to have you, but remember, the door is always open if you change your mind. Christmas arrived, bringing with it a gathering of both families at the Langston house. Abuela and Mrs. Peterson formed an unlikely alliance in the kitchen, while Uncle Miguel taught Matteo to play dominoes. Rosa and Victoria discovered a shared interest in gardening and spent hours discussing plans for the spring planting. Watching them all together, Camilla felt a deep sense of rightness. Two families from such different backgrounds, finding common ground through love and shared experience. Gabriel came to stand beside her, slipping an arm around her waist. Happy? Very, she said, leaning against him. This is everything I ever wanted. Even though we're still doing the long-distance dance, he asked, a hint of worry in his voice. Even then, Camilla assured him, because we're building something real, something that can weather any distance. The spring semester flew by, and suddenly Camilla was facing final exams, graduation preparations, and the imminent return to Los Angeles. She and Gabriel had decided to have a summer wedding, giving them time to settle back into life together before the fall school term. Where will we live? Camilla asked one evening as they discussed wedding plans. Your house or somewhere new? Gabriel hesitated. I thought we'd stay at my house, but if you'd prefer somewhere without those memories. Camilla shook her head. That house is Matteo's home, and it's becoming mine too with all our new memories. She squeezed his hand. Elena will always be part of your lives, and I wouldn't want it any other way. "Have I told you today how much I love you?" Gabriel asked, his eyes full of emotion. "You might have mentioned it," Camilla teased, "but I never get tired of hearing it." Graduation day arrived, bright and clear. Camilla stood among her classmates, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. There they were, Gabriel and Mateo in matching suits, Rosa and Abuela wiping tears, Uncle Miguel looking proud, even Victoria clapping enthusiastically beside her art. "Professor boyfriend." As Camilla crossed the stage to receive her diploma, she heard Mateo's voice above the crowd. "That's my mum." The simple declaration, so natural, so heartfelt, brought tears to her eyes. She had come to Stanford to further her education, to follow her dream of teaching, but she had found something even more precious: a family. After the ceremony, as they gathered for photos, Gabriel pulled her aside. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a long envelope. "What's this?" Camilla asked, opening it carefully. Inside was a deed to a building in East Los Angeles, not far from where she had grown up. "It's for your dream," Gabriel explained. "A learning center for children who need extra support, who can't afford private tutors. The Elena Langston Foundation will provide initial funding, but it will be yours to run however you see fit." Camilla stared at him in shock. "Gabriel, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll make it amazing," Gabriel urged. "Say you'll use your gifts to help children find their voices, just like you did for Mateo." "We'll make it amazing," Camilla corrected, including him in the vision. Together. The wedding took place in the garden of the Langston house, now bursting with the yellow flowers Elena had loved, and the colorful blooms Camilla had planted. Mateo stood proudly beside his father as best man, while Rosa served as Camilla's matron of honor. As Camilla walked down the aisle on Uncle Miguel's arm, she caught sight of Gabriel's face, a look of such joy and love that it took her breath away. Mateo stood beside him, practically bouncing with excitement. The ceremony was a blend of traditions, with readings in both English and Spanish. When it came time for vows, Gabriel went first. "Camilla, you came into our lives when we were lost, in darkness. You didn't just bring light, you taught us how to create our own light again. You've shown me that love isn't about finding the perfect person, but about learning to see the perfect in an imperfect person." He took her hands in his. "I promise to spend the rest of my life seeing the perfection in you, supporting your dreams, as you've supported mine, and creating a home filled with love and laughter." Camilla blinked back tears as she began her vows. "Gabriel, Mateo, because I'm making these promises to both of you, you've taught me that family isn't just about blood ties. It's about choice, about creating space for each other to grow and change. I promise to love you both with all my heart, to be a partner and a mother, to remember that even on the hardest days, we are stronger together than apart." After they exchanged rings, the minister smiled. "And now, by special request, a third set of vows." Mateo stepped forward, looking small but determined in his suit. "Camilla," he began in a clear voice, "I promise to be a good son, to pick up my toys and do my homework, to remember that even though I had another mum who loved me, I have enough room in my heart for you too." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "This is for you." Inside was a child's drawing, carefully framed, a picture of the three of them, holding hands with the words "My family" written across the top. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden as Camilla knelt to hug him. "I love you so much," she whispered. "Thank you for letting me be your mom." The reception lasted well into the night, with dancing, speeches, and the blending of traditions. Victoria surprised everyone with a heartfelt toast. "My sister loved with her whole heart," she said, raising her glass. She would be happy knowing that the two people she loved most have found joy again. To Gabriel and Camilla, may your home always be as warm as your hearts. Later, as Camilla and Gabriel swayed together on the dance floor, he whispered, "Happy." "More than I ever imagined possible," she replied. "And you?" "Complete," he said simply. "For the first time in a long time, I feel complete." Across the garden, Mateo was teaching Abuela a dance move. while Rosa and Uncle Miguel chatted with Gabriel's business associates. Two worlds, once separate, now joined by love and choice. As the evening wound down, Camila found a quiet moment with Mateo, who was growing sleepy after all the excitement. "Thank you for my present," she said, touching the framed drawing that had not left her side all evening. "You helped me learn to draw again," Mateo said, his eyes heavy, "and you helped Daddy learn to smile again." "You both helped me too," Camila told him. "You taught me that sometimes the most important lessons aren't found in books or classrooms, they're found in the heart." Mateo yawned. "Does this mean we're a real family now?" Camila smiled, looking across the garden at Gabriel, who was watching them with love in his eyes. "We've been a real family for a long time, sweetheart. Today just made it official." The Learning Center opened that fall, with Camila as its director, and a staff of dedicated teachers. Children from all backgrounds came for tutoring, arts programs, and the special brand of attention that Camila had once given to a grieving little boy. One afternoon, as Camila was working late, Gabriel and Mateo stopped by with dinner. They found her in the main classroom, helping a young girl with her reading. "Just like old times," Gabriel observed with a smile as they waited for her to finish. Camila looked up and saw her husband and son watching her with pride, and she knew that all the choices, all the challenges, had led her exactly where she was meant to be, surrounded by children who needed her and loved by the family who had chosen her. "Not like old times," she corrected, joining them with a kiss. "Better, because now when the lesson is done, we all go home together." And as they walked out into the golden California sunset, hand in hand, Camila realized that the greatest lesson of all was the one they had taught each other, that love, when given space to grow, could heal the deepest wounds and build the strongest bonds. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth every step of the journey.